Hey everyone, this is Miss Moore again. Thanks for joining me with Coffee with the Counselor. Today we have a pretty interesting topic to cover, and the reason why I chose our topic today is because of the month. October is actually recognized as the National Bully Prevention Month. So I'm going to talk to you guys about bullying. Okay, we're going to learn what it is, what you can do if your child experiences it, if they witness it, or if they're actually engaging in the bullying. And really, it is a very uncomfortable topic, but it's something that our young people, they're really facing nowadays. And so that's why it's important to educate ourselves and our students and our children. So I'm going to share my presentation with you. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today's focus, bullying. All right, so we're going to start here with what is bullying? Well, there's lots of misconceptions out there about what bullying is, and it's really important to understand the difference between bullying, conflict, and a mean moment. Okay, in order for something to be bullying, it has to meet about these, somewhere around, 4 of these. We're going to narrow it down to 4. Let's just say that criteria. So first, it has to be intentional. Okay, bullying doesn't happen on accident. It also must be repeated. If it only occurs once, then it's not really bullying, but instead it's just a person being mean. Next, bullying is intended to cause harm. If the intention is not to cause harm, physically, emotionally, things like that, then it's not bullying. Okay, lastly, for it to be true bullying, it must also be one-sided. This means that only the person doing the bullying is engaged in the hurtful or harmful behavior. Now, if both people are doing it, then that's what we call conflict. This is where it gets kind of tricky. And then I want to talk to you too about, the understanding that bullying is not just physical. This is another misconception that's out there, is that there's only one kind and it's physical. Well, that's not really true. For those of you that didn't know that, there's other types too. It's important to know that bullying can also be verbal, emotional, and what we call cyberbullying. So verbal bullying is going to be things like name calling, threatening, and inappropriate comments, things like that. Emotional bullying, which it's sometimes called relational bullying, and that is when someone is excluding a person intentionally, they're manipulating somebody or spreading rumors, trying to humiliate somebody on purpose, things like that. And then cyberbullying. This one has become pretty big thing lately, I would say. And it happens through technology. Okay, so it might look like threatening messages posted online or creating fake accounts. And then it could be posting inappropriate photos or even videos. And there's lots of legality tied to this bullying. Now, I did want to show this to you guys. Sorry, it's not the best picture, but this is the poster that we have posted in several of our classrooms. You might have even seen it in our hallways, but it just defines for the students in a more kid-friendly way what rude is, what mean is, and then what bullying is. So we tell them that rude is when someone says or does something unintentionally hurtful and they do it once. So this is going to be like the accidental things, I feel like. Mean, that's when someone says or does something intentionally hurtful and they just do it once. So they mean to do it, but it's only one time. Okay. And some kids get a little confused with that because they think, they've done something to me, but then they've done something to me, 2, 3, 4 weeks later. That can be kind of tricky too, because you have to kind of dig deeper into that. But what I tell students is there's lots of mean moments that happen, but like you see in the next part, bullying is when someone says or does something intentionally hurtful and they keep doing it, even when you tell them to stop or you show them that they're upset, even when, maybe a grown up or a teacher or someone has spoken to them about it, that it needs to stop because it's reoccurring. So that's where it kind of gets into what bullying looks like. Okay, so wanted to make sure you guys were seeing that. This is something that I keep in my classroom. So it gets a little bit tricky again with defining bullying. Not everything that's mean is actual bullying. Again, we look at mean moments, we look at what conflict is, and then we look at what characteristics of bullying might be. So that's another one that I use with my kids when they come to my class. So now let's see what we're going to talk about next is responding to the bullying. So now that you kind of have an understanding of what bullying is and what it's not and how it looks and the different types, we're going to talk about how your children can respond if they experience it or they witness it. Okay. All right. So when you're talking to your child about bullying, it's best to be proactive. Okay, so make sure they know what to do if they ever are being bullied or if they ever see it happening. Make sure that they know how to handle it ahead of time. And that just helps to make, helps them to make safer decisions when this is happening. Okay. So the first and the most important thing to make sure of is that your children knows that they should tell an adult immediately, okay, if they experience it again or if they witness it, okay. They need to know that it's unsafe behavior, what's going on, and that reporting it doesn't make you a tattletale at all, okay. And that they're not going to get in trouble for telling an adult if they feel like it's a bullying situation. Another important thing for them to remember is if they see or they experience the bullying, they have to stay calm. And that's tricky, okay? When you bully back or you respond angrily, that can honestly kind of make things worse. And that gets kind of tricky when you're trying to discuss that with a student or with your children, is when they respond back in maybe a negative way. I get it. I mean, if you're being picked on repeatedly, you're gonna, kind of overreact sometimes, but that's where it's important to be proactive, for them to stop and think, what do I really need to do in this situation? Now, if your child experiences bullying, or other strategies they can use include like walking away, directly telling the person to stop. Just tell them, stop. What you're doing is wrong. Okay. Or another thing is to use humor to diffuse the situation. Okay. Humor is going to make the person bullying think, wait, it's going to kind of catch them off guard, hopefully, and make them stop. That's kind of tricky, but I mean, hey, if it works, I say go for it. Okay. And also remind your child that if he or she sees bullying, it's important not to join in. Okay. Sometimes when someone is being or doing the bullying, that's a behavior and they're looking for approval or laughs from their friends or from the crowd that they're around. And it's best just to stand up for the person being bullied in those situations and to tell the person doing it that they need to stop and that what they're doing, it's not funny and it's not okay. Okay. And if they can also help the person being targeted get away from the situation, that's amazing too. Okay. Now, it is very important to make sure your child has skills and strategies to use if or when they see or experience bullying. However, there's another side to this. And sometimes parents will wonder what they can do if their child is the one who is doing the bullying. So what if my child is bullying others? Let's talk about that for a minute, okay? Now, this is just an uncomfortable topic to discuss. It's important to remember that your child's behavior choices do not mean by any means that you are a bad parent. It can be really easy to ignore or hide or even justify your child's behavior, but it's important to make sure that everyone, including your child, stays safe. So if you know or you suspect that your child is engaging in bullying behaviors, here are some ways that you can respond. First, you need to tell your child that what they're doing is not okay. They need to hear that their behavior is not acceptable. Kids bully for lots of reasons. There's a variety of reasons. And in order to curb the behavior, it's helpful to try to get the underlying cause of the bullying. So when we can understand why a child is bullying, we can help them find other ways to meet that need they're seeking. Now, as far as discipline or goes for children, they need to face consequences for bullying, okay? So some examples of some consequences could be having the child write a note or a letter to the person that was targeted, or restricting your child from going back to the setting where the bullying took place, if that's possible, okay? Consequences are going to vary depending on the severity of the incident, where it occurs, and what the child was trying to accomplish through his or her bullying behavior. Once the incident has been addressed, parents, we ask that you keep monitoring the situation to ensure that the behavior has stopped. And if you want to remember too, you're not alone, regardless of whether your child's the target, a bystander, or the person engaging in the behavior. Please know that there is help and support for you. So at school, we are available at any time to hear your concerns that you may have, and we are open and want to listen to those. And we do take those seriously. Last thing I want to share with you is this is a poster that is posted in our buildings, and it's posted on all Conway Public School buildings because, like I said, the legal part of this, I mean, that's one of the pieces to this. And it defines bullying as it's the intentional harassment, intimidation, or humiliation of someone by written, verbal, electronic, or physical actions. And here's the legal part of it. Act 1029 of 2019 prohibits bullying at school, on the bus, or at any other school functions. Any student who bullies someone will face disciplinary action according to the Conway Public Schools Student Handbook. And I believe you can find that online. Any student who feels he or she is bullying should report it to any teacher, principal, or staff member in the school. And that's very important for us to know, is that if it's not reported, if it's not talked about, if it's not discussed, it makes it very hard for us here at school to do something about it. But I also wanted to talk to you as parents, as guardians, so that you can help us with it too. Because if we're working together, my hope is that we see this, really see this behavior going away. So I hope I've given you some really helpful tips. I hope that you've learned something, like I said, that's going to help you in the long run. I want to thank you for your time. If you're interested in any handouts on the things that we talked about today, I'm happy to get those to you. So Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next time.